Day here. You are listening to the Trips and Global on Wheels podcast hour, the place to be to learn about the latest and greatest life stories from people who are doing incredible disability advocacy work. Karen Saba has more than 15 years of experience providing leadership and expertise in the area of safety and social protection initiatives for various sectors. Working for many non-government organizations, Karen has designed and implemented refugee assistance programs covering lifestyle saving services for refugee settlements in the Middle East. She has conducted numerous trainings to directly empower people with disabilities, including wounded soldiers, and has provided training on inclusive development. As a consultant for the World Bank, she co-drafted the first strategic report on mainstreaming the disability population throughout the Middle East and North Africa. Has worked for the Presidential Task Force on employment of adults and youth with disabilities under the Clinton administration. Karen Saba holds a master's degree in international development from American University from Washington, D.C. She speaks Arabic, French, and English fluently. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Of course. So we're going to kick off our first question with, so what is the hardest part about doing disability advocacy work in the Middle East versus the U.S., since you've done so much advocacy and activism work in that region?
Well, there is a different ways of looking at the questions, and for the one thing is disability is viewed in different ways around the world. Mm-hmm. But in the Middle East, the laws are just started to be drafted, and they are not being drafted because the native population demanded this regulation. Most of the countries in the Middle East lack the resources to allocate for the rights of people with disabilities. Whereas in the U.S., the laws are already there, and these policies were created through a system that implement the policies, and it was a collaboration between the disability community and policy makers and political leaders. So it's different. So it is a different dynamic. And because the laws in the Middle East are new, therefore it will take a longer time to get it.
What are the biggest barriers to equal opportunity and access for individuals with disabilities in the Middle East?
I think it's attitude of people, attitude of political officials, attitude of people with disabilities themselves. How people with disability view themselves, and how the social society view disabled people. So, because no one is looking to empower people with disability, strengthen that attitude to empower people. Therefore, people with disabilities are not powered. They are seen as not as productive part of society.
Yeah, I think attitudes definitely play a major part in shaping a person, how they view their, their differences with them. In terms of the physical infrastructure and the, tangible opportunities, are they there or is that lacking due to attitudes, due to negative attitudes of people with disabilities?
Well, I think it's both the physical infrastructure itself because of attitudes, but also the Middle East. Most of the Middle East is very old, like countries like Egypt. It's like 2,000, 3,000 years old. So things are not accessible because it's old. And there is poverty and population over, you know, it's a big populated area. Whereas, countries like Iraq, they have the bombs and all of that, so they are rebuilding the country and there is a lot of will and advocacy going on to make it more accessible in terms of infrastructure.
And so next we're going to transition a bit to multilateral, bilateral collaborations with other countries, okay? So how does collaborating effectively with government organizations differ from non-governmental organizations? What is the key to working effectively with them to advance disability rights issues?
Well, of course, you know that most NGOs, when they go to a country, they have to have the clearance and they have to be welcomed by the host countries. So that's the first collaboration. They work together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's most important in that setting, whether it's a NGO or a government organization, to engage the people with disabilities in the development, implementation, and evaluation of all programs for disabled, disabled people. That has not been happening a lot. You don't see many NGOs that hire disabled people, and you don't see a lot of government organizations that hire people with disabilities. So
Mm-hmm.
that's an issue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, It's definitely an issue. And again, I think that goes back to attitude and how people view individuals with disabilities and what their skill sets or lack of skill sets are.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think inclusion is, you know, you can't have inclusion without engaging people with disabilities.
Mm.
That's not inclusion, that's just providing services.
Exactly, exactly. So you've been involved on the international front, working with disabled people's organizations and governments around the world to advance disability issues. So what is the key to collaborating and working with such a wide network and such a diverse group of people?
You have to be flexible, um, very understanding of the different customs and different ways of doing things, you know. whether it's the Middle Eastern culture, the French culture, the American culture, or the different cultures within a country, or you can't assume. You just have to take it very slow and ask why are people doing things the way they are doing it. And once you understand that, then you can go back and tell them, not tell them, help them to do it differently, but don't judge.
Yeah. So be open about the collaboration
Yes,
and not come in with preconceived notions.
never, 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 never.
Never, never. Okay.
Yes.
So,
And don't come in as you understand, as know it all, because we often don't know what we don't know.
mhm, we don't know what we don't know. That is so true. I think that's an understatement. With addressing disability issues internationally, what specific measures can we take to include people of all types of disabilities from, both cross disability organizations and cross age organizations. For example, children, seniors, individuals with intellectual disabilities or psychiatric disabilities. How can we include all of those people and groups in the disability rights movement, both domestically and internationally?
I have said it so many times. I am an American U.S. citizen. I don't worry about what other countries are doing. I just worry about how we as Americans conduct ourselves abroad and locally and nationally. I think one of our strongest points is the Rehab Act, which says all services and programs have to be accessible and accommodated to people with disabilities. They have specific measurement and regulations to do that. The Rehab Act has to become part of our international agenda, and it has to be present in all our foreign aid programs. Once that is done, all our money, all our programs abroad will be also available to disabled people, and other countries will begin to see how we do things, and they will come to do the same thing. So we will lead by example.
What are some solution plans you have in mind to make traveling more accessible for individuals with disabilities? So, in regards to, I was thinking earlier, especially for wheelchair users, because that's a large part of our focus here at Trips and Global on Wheels. And but you can talk about it more broadly as well.
Well, I mean, I think in many countries, whether because of economy or because the country is old or because of if anything else, the fact is, the reality is, you're not gonna find a lot of accessible settings. So you have to be flexible, you have to be innovative, and you have to find a way to communicate with your host, or whatever. If you're in a guest house, a hotel, or whatever, you have to ask and talk about how they can accommodate you and find a way to get what you need to be
So,
done.
thinking into the future now, what progress have you seen? Um, Thinking into the future and into the past here, um, what major progress have you seen in your lifetime in terms of inclusion for people with disabilities in all facets of society, and what still needs to be improved?
I think more people are aware that disabled people are should be part of society. There is more awareness about different disabilities such as autism and so on around the globe. But the perception and the attitude about different disabilities is still prevalent. We are still not seen as productive members of society. And once that happens, it will take a long time to happen, but it needs to happen. So
Mhm. It does. It should have happened a long time ago, if not already. So, our last question here, what are some of the biggest challenges facing individuals with disabilities internationally? I know you've had a great deal of experience working internationally, especially the Middle East. What can be done to address these challenges by current disability rights leaders?
I think the most important thing to do is to formulate peer support and to empower people with disabilities. Disabled people overseas are not empowered. They just go with the flow. They don't ask questions. Uh, they don't challenge
Status
leaders.
quo
leaders.
leaders.
So they have to be empowered and connected. Some of them are isolated. So we have to focus on self-help groups and peer support groups, and this is why your 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 website and the work you're doing is very important because it shows other people in other countries how to empower themselves.
Did you like this video? If so, share it with your friends and be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want even more resources, be sure to sign up for our email updates on our website, traipsingglobal.com. Keep learning new perspectives, keep being inclusive because it will make the world a better place for you and for everyone else. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on another episode of the Traipsing Global on Wheels podcast hour.